Hey y'all, welcome to this week's show. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Beautiful late spring weather. And, you know, we're getting toward the end of my series on the spring foraging cookbook. So hopefully you've gotten all the information you needed just at the right time. Today we're going to talk about really my favorite wild edible of all. And it is the wild alliums. I am an onion fanatic. Garlic fanatic. Um, you name it. Shallots, green onions, scallions, whatever you want to call them, leeks. Uh, Ramps are really my all-time favorite. It's just, I guess it's genetic, you know. Justin Wilson, the great Cajun cook and humorist and storyteller, used to be on PBS, and long before he was on PBS, by the way. Justin Wilson did some comedy albums and a couple of books, and he was really funny. He was a bit risque for PBS actually. He cussed a bit too much for PBS, but he was really funny. But anyway, he always said when he was cooking he had to have onions. You know, he said, "Monsieur Onion, I cannot cook without him." No, and I think that bit of Cajun heritage I've got, that bit of Creole heritage, that bit of Huguenot heritage, that bit of Irish heritage. The Irish love their onions, and I mean, of course, I got a good bit of Welsh heritage, and the Welsh are so identified with alliums. Traditionally, when they would go into battle, they would put a leek in their helmet or hat, and if they and that there was medicinal. There was a good reason for that. If you got cut or shot with an arrow, the really antiseptic, antimicrobial properties of that leek applied to the wound could help prevent infection. But also, if you got hungry, you had a leek to eat. And I mean, I'm telling you, I am an allium fanatic. So we'll get into that a little bit. I'm going to give you some good recipes. We've talked so much about the medicinal qualities of the allium family. But then when we get into our specifically medicinal tree, or plant, I should say, it's a shrub. Um, this one is not edible at all. Okay, don't make that mistake. It is euonymus, or in America often called, well, in Europe it's often called the spindle tree. What is it in America? Wahoo. There we go. It was right on the tip of my tongue. In fact, in Boone, North Carolina, where I grew up part time, the kayaking and whitewater rafting company is called Wahoos. And I guess it's because people would yell Wahoo, but actually, I think it's because we got a lot of Wahoo bushes along the creek sides and the river sides, and burning bush. Um, Many names for that one: burning bush, fire bush. Beautiful, absolutely one of my favorite plants in the fall. The leaves turn just gorgeous red. It has this winged stem. It's one of the most unique looking plants. I got about 4 or 5 of them in my yard. I've been doing the Herbal Medicine 101 on YouTube. As a series I had done a while back. I started posting on YouTube. People really seem to like it, so it looks like I'm going to have to start doing some new Herbal Medicine 101 videos on YouTube. And much to my surprise, people want to see me do a lot of other stuff too. Um, I honestly, I always say in my rarely humble opinion, but the truth is, I don't think I'm not very interesting to myself. Let me put it that way. People seem to think I'm a little, I don't know. When I was a kid, I was very shy. Okay, I was very shy. And there's an old line from a Bob Dylan song that says they may mistake your shyness for aloofness and your innocence for snobbery. Yeah, Bob Dylan was a great songwriter. I never thought I was that interesting. But I've been posting some stuff on YouTube, and I've been getting a lot of requests, a lot of emails, people wanting to see me um, not just do herbal medicine classes, not just play a tune every now and then. I put up a new tune today, and it's a cool one. If you want to check it out, go to my YouTube channel. It's just Judson Carroll, Southern Appalachian Herbs on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description. Don't worry about that. I mean, you could just go to the show notes and click it. I did an old song for the 20s by Ragtime Texas Henry Tomas, and I mean, I grew up listening to bands like Canned Heat. I mean, my mom was a big fan of Canned Heat. She was a big fan of Taj Mahal. She was a big fan of Doc Watson. Canned Heat was also the band that did the music for the Monkees TV show until they demanded they do their own music. Canned Heat was one of the best blues rock bands of the 60s, right? Taj was awesome. I mean, he was friends with Etta Baker. I got to learn a lot from Etta Baker, and of course, Doc was sort of a mentor to me. And there was a song they would play. Well, not Canned Heat. Canned Heat, actually, their song "Going Up the Country." It's got this flute intro, and it's got a really unique rhythm to it. That was basically lifted entirely from Ragtime Henry Thomas. So that's why I started on that. And a great old band called the Moby Grape also really borrowed a lot from his catalog. Moby Grape was one of the best bands of the 60s that way too many drugs, and they broke up. Well, actually, the main guy in the band had a complete psychotic breakdown and forgot who he was for the next 20 years. He was living under a bridge. I mean, that kind of thing. Sort of like Sid Barrett from Pink Floyd, but way worse. Way worse. Anyway, Skip Spence was his name. And the last album, this is totally, I know I'm off topic. The last album he did was called Ore, before he went nuts. And it is, oh man, it's an iconic album. Skip Spence's Ore is just like really powerful album. There's no other way to put it. But he was losing his mind at the time, and then he forgot who he was for the next 20 years. So, kids, don't use drugs. Probably have a good case in point of I could give you so many examples. Him, of course, Sid Barrett, Townes Van Zandt, so many. Oh, what was his name? Rocky Erickson from 13th Floor Elevators. Believe it or not, punk rock, that started in 1977 was when the first like official punk rock albums were recorded. Could have started in 1967. Rocky Erickson was the guy. I mean, seriously. And he took a lot of drugs and forgot who he was for a while. And psychotic. And when he came out of the institutions after shock therapy and all that, not the same guy at all. So, kids, don't use drugs. They can be real bad for you, especially psychedelics. Especially psychedelics. They can really mess you. I went to school with a lot of kids, got into bad stuff, and never came back. I can give you so many examples. And one of the reasons, some of the herbs can have that effect, and I purposely don't discuss them, or if it's like belladonna or Jimson weed or something, I give you those strong warnings because I've seen it happen too many times. One of my best friends went down that road and never came back, and I think he has to be cared for. I mean, he's probably 50 years old now, and I think he's still being like spoon-fed by his parents. I mean, really not good. So. Anyway, like I was trying to say, I don't think my life's that interesting, but people want to see me on YouTube. They want to see me talk about herbs. They want to see me go out in the woods and forage, show them how to identify wild plants. They want to see me make a fire, make a campsite, cook those plants. I mean, carve spoons, make pottery. I mean, everything I do, people are like, can you just, show me how to do this? And realize there is actually a great need. I mean, I remember, I was really lucky. I had just this incredible family. My grandfather was starting a living history museum just before he died. He never got to finish it. I mean, I kind of grew up with the Foxfire books in real life. I mean, would restore antiques, rebuild old homes, do all kinds of stuff with horses and the horse tack he would make himself. He was a blacksmith. He was a farmer. He was everything you can imagine. My grandmother canned the vegetables and made sausage and everything, right? I mean, everything was from scratch, and it was like, I got that really unique opportunity. And then, of course, when I moved to the mountains when I was 15, I was born there, moved back when I was 15, that kind of thing. Um, Got to meet the Hicks family, and that was like stepping back in time 200 years. And I remember, I guess I was about 10 or so, 9, 10, and there was this big push in school and church and everything to join the Cub Scouts. And I was like, wow, this is great. I get to go camping and fishing, and I love it. I'm looking so forward to it. Yeah, I joined the Cub Scouts and then went all the way through like Webelos or whatever, beginning of the Boy Scouts, whatever. And we never went camping. No, not a single time. We never went. We did go fishing once. Never learned to hunt, trap. We learned how to tie that stupid kerchief around our necks, and all we did was play basketball. Didn't learn how to make fires. Didn't learn how to make rope ladders or bridges or everything that was in like the Boys Life magazine and all that. Or canoe. We never went canoeing. We never went kayaking. Our scout leaders were like 3 or 4 fat middle-aged men who just wanted to sit and drink beer and watch basketball. And I guess now kids don't even have that. At least those guys were dads. They may have been, I mean, they didn't even teach us how to change the oil in a vehicle. I mean, you would think if you couldn't take the kids out in the woods, you'd at least teach them to change oil or change a tire. No, they didn't do that. They were really, I don't know, fat, middle-aged men who did nothing but drink beer and watch sports. And I mean, at least they were present. I didn't have a dad, um, you know, but at least they were present for their kids. But imagine now when like fewer than 50% of kids even have parents that have ever been married, and more than 50% of those that do are from divorced households. And no one's even teaching you how to tie a tie. I mean, much less fry an egg or make a campfire or go out in the woods and do something. And I'm realizing that there is this incredible need to pass on generational knowledge, most of which I had to learn on my own from books, um, from strange old men that nobody else would talk to. I've told stories before about, the weird, odd characters I've met throughout my life. But I learned through really hands-on hard experience, and you know, I doubt at this point I'm ever going to get married and have kids of my own, which was all I ever wanted in life. But hey, that's you play the hand you're dealt, is what it comes down to. Um, so I'm going to try to start documenting some of this stuff on YouTube. That's what I'm saying. I mean, to me, what's like how to use a saw. I mean, how to gosh, I mean, anything you could imagine, from the most basic to the most advanced in what I do. I mean, what I do in herbal medicine can be pretty advanced. I mean, you know, I give you more information than anybody else out there. And I think, if you were to take lessons from me, I would teach you more than I ever learned for lessons that I paid a lot of money for, thousands of dollars, because I think it's important to pass the information on. But there's so many things, like I said, how to sharpen a knife and carve a spoon. Where are you going to learn that these days? You know, well, you can learn on YouTube. There's some really good spoon carvers on YouTube. Basket weaving. I guess I'm going to join those ranks. So, y'all, you know, please share the word. Help me grow that YouTube channel. Let's see if I can get it monetized so I get a little recompense for my time. But it's really amazing to me. The other day, I'm talking with somebody. Oh, I was on a forum, food forum, and it was Mother's Day, right? And my mom suddenly said she wanted coleslaw with her meal. I was cooking her supper, and I didn't have a cabbage. And I thought, well, what can I do? Well, I'll make broccoli slaw. What you do to make broccoli slaw is you peel the stems of broccoli, grate it fine, mix it up with a little mayonnaise and vinegar, pinch of sugar if you like, pinch of salt, and it's just like coleslaw made from cabbage. Almost identical, slightly richer taste, I guess I would say. And she loved it. And I just posted that, and someone said, post pictures, please post pictures, show me how to do this. And I'm like, what? I mean, no, seriously. But the person was sincere. They really, so I said, I'm sorry it's too late, it's already eaten, but I'll walk you through it. Well, I guess next time I make broccoli slaw, I'm going to be taking a video of it and putting it on YouTube. And I guess there are probably a lot of people out there that are going to watch it, and that's cool. But I mean, it's so weird to me. Like when I look at herbal medicine or carving wood or playing my guitar, or my mandolin or whatever, that's a real skill. It took um, a lot of time and effort to learn. Cooking, though, I mean, I guess has taken probably even more time and effort to learn. I've just done it over so many years, I take it for granted. And the same is true of gardening, um, outdoor skills, wilderness skills, primitive skills, as they call it. I mean, making cordage, making a basket, pitching a tent, hanging a hammock in the woods, camping hammock, it's a little different. Making fire, cooking over fire, catching fish. Um, yeah, so many things. Foraging, certainly. So I can see the benefit in this, and I, I guess the only thing I can say is, like I said a few years ago, when I first published my first book, and people really liked it, and they were giving me feedback. It's very humbling. Um, how would I put it? I'm not proud of my life in any way, shape, or form. I'm not. I really, like I said, my goal in life was to get married and have kids. And I'm just about to turn 48, 3 months from now. That's probably not going to happen. So I really, in many ways, feel like a colossal failure. But to know that there are things that I've learned that I can pass on, um, that's it's meaningful, and it doesn't make me feel proud at all. It makes me feel grateful to be able to be of service, and we'll all be forgotten in 100 years, but you know, some of us are going to be forgotten a lot sooner than others. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to at least pass on, to the next generation. Because, when my time comes, there's not going to be anybody by my side, and there's not going to be anybody to visit a grave or care or remember. So at least my knowledge is of some value. Um, our culture is screwed up. What really matters in life is not emphasized, and uh, what can I say? Either I just never met the right lady, or if I did, I didn't know it at the time. And time waits for no man. Time moves on. So anyway, let's get into the plants. And what are our plants for this week? Well, I told you. Wild onions and garlic. My favorite. My absolute favorite. So we talked about ramps actually separately. Okay, so go back and look for the show on ramps. Ramp season has just come to an end in the mountains where I live. If you live up in the Rockies, you're probably still, or even, upper parts of New England, you're probably still right in it. I'm sure upper Michigan. I got a friend up there, and I'm sure she is out harvesting ramps even as we speak, and I'm incredibly jealous. If there's one, if there's one woman on earth that knows as much about foraging and wild plants as I do, it is a lady you can find on Twitter, I know. She goes by the name of Domino RXXX. She is a brilliant herbalist. She's also a compounding pharmacist. Um, just a friend. Um, I, if you need to find somebody in the Midwest, and I think she handles like Michigan, Minnesota, even down to Ohio, Illinois certainly. Domino is really brilliant. I mean, really brilliant, actually. She really impresses me, and she's written a new book. It'll be out soon. Check her out. I think if she gets her due, in 20 or years or so, you're going to talk about Domino, and that actually is her name, by the way, Domino. You're going to talk about Domino the way you would, Rosemary Gladstar, Susan Weed, but she's even more clinical and scientific. So um, really one of those up and coming rising stars. And if you do get in touch with her, tell her I sent you because she's got a remarkable sense of humor, very dry, and she likes to give me a hard time, which I always appreciate. So anyway, wild onions and garlic, the alliums. Now remember, with all members of this family, if it looks like an onion and smells like an onion, it's an onion. If it looks like an onion but does not smell like an onion, it is not an onion and will likely kill you. These are all in the Liliaceae family. Your onions, your garlic, your chives even, leeks, shallots, scallions, you name it. The ones that grow in your front yard, right in your grass, wild onions. You cut the grass and it smells like onions. That's an onion, okay? Anything that looks like that has that green stalk, tubular green stalk, and a bulb at the bottom, if it does not smell like onion or garlic, could be the death camas. Why is it called the death camas? Well, just like the most poisonous mushrooms, like the destroying angel or the death cap, if it's called death camas, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to kill you. So, on the one hand, your wild alliums are the absolute easiest plants to identify because they smell like onions or garlic. On the other hand, don't take a chance. If it does not smell like onions and garlic, do not eat any part of that plant. And that's not only the case with the death camas, uh, daffodils. Anything that grows from bulbs can have a significant amount of toxicity. I mean, every year kids go to the hospital having eaten the bulbs of daffodils. So, I mean, you do take this seriously. Use your nose on this one. If for some reason you don't have a sense of smell, don't be harvesting wild onions and garlic or ramps. Just let somebody else do it. Anyway, they're fairly ubiquitous. They grow just about everywhere. They pop up in most people's lawns, old pastures, roadsides, etc. Always be careful harvesting from roadsides. You get the runoff from the roads, a lot of oil and gas and various petrochemicals, antifreeze, anything, tire residue, really nasty stuff, real bad for you. In fact, tire residue can kill you. Again, it's, gosh, what's the name of that disease it'll actually give you? Anyway, it's pretty awful actually. And that's why I don't grow potatoes in old tires. Supposedly it's safe. Excuse me. I think one season you'd probably be okay, but if you've got soil sitting in those tires in direct sunlight and it's getting hot and cold, I'd be very afraid of getting, was it cadmium? I think it is, yeah, cadmium into the soil. and that's one of the most painful deaths a person can experience. So I don't grow potatoes and old tires. Seriously. Anyway, but if it was a quiet country road, a little gravel road, yeah, I wouldn't mind harvesting roadside. I do it a lot, actually. Just remember, pavement means runoff, so don't go to parking lots, don't go to anything like that. Um, Wild onions and garlic have an excellent flavor, and generally they are, though, stronger than garden varieties and a little tougher. You have to remember our cultivated plants have been bred to be more mild, less bitter, and more soft. So, when you eat a wild plant, expect it to have a little chew to it and a pungency. And yeah, wild onions are nice and pungent, and their abundance and convenience makes them just about part of every single wild meal I eat. Use them just any way you would any other kind of allium. I mean, put them in salads, soups, cooked meat, fish, eggs, etc. Uh, the like just regular wild onions that grow in your yard are a perfect substitute for fresh chives. I mean, delicious. And this is one of my favorite recipes. I call it wild allium boursin. Now, boursin is a delicious, tangy, spreadable, either herbed or heavily peppered cheese. I've loved this stuff since I was a kid. I have sort of a boursin obsession. That's Boursin. As far as I know, it's generally made with goat cheese. Goat cheese has this nice, fresh, lemony, sour taste. But you could really use any similarly soft, fresh cheese. You could even do the same recipe with cottage cheese or ricotta. But of course, it's going to have a completely different consistency. It's not going to be a spread. It's going to be more like a cottage cheese salad, but a soft sheep's milk cheese, cream cheese work fine. But just remember, cream cheese and Neuchâtel has a extreme richness to it, and a little bit goes a long way. But you could make a cheese ball out of this. Same way you'd make a cheese ball. Just take your cream cheese or Neuchâtel and roll it around in the herb mixture. Maybe put a few nuts and some chopped bacon on it. Oh my gosh, it's good. And spread it on a cracker. I mean, that's really good, actually. I'm kind of drooling now just thinking about it. But so for the wild allium boursin, get some Chev. Chev is C-H, yeah, it's not S, Chevre. And it's just a spreadable, fresh goat cheese. It's lemony, really good in an omelet, for one thing. That's one of my favorite ways to have it. Usually not very expensive. At the grocery store, I can get a little, I don't know, 4-ounce thing of Chev for maybe $3-4. It's still more than it's worth, actually. If you have access to some goat's milk, a farmer will probably sell you 2 to 3 times that amount for the same price, and it's gonna be fresher and better. So go for it if you can. But if you do the store bought, it's still not going to break the budget. Just mix into it finely chopped herbs to taste. I use parsley at the very least, obviously, and any alliums, anything from chives to ramps. I mean, anything. The only thing, I'm looking at the tops. I'm looking at the green tops of the alliums. It can be the green tops of garlic. Garlic scapes are delicious. Like a globe onion, a yellow or a white onion. You could use it, but if you did, I'd probably grate it. I'd probably, yeah, and use more of the juice of the onion. But any aromatic, savory herb would be fine. Salt and pepper to taste. I like a dash of cayenne pepper or hot sauce, but it's not traditional. So just simply blend it all together with a spoon. Let it sit overnight in the fridge. Serve it on crackers. Put it on toast. Put it on top of a steak. Yes, herbed goat cheese on top of a medium rare, at most, grilled or broiled steak is so good you will not believe it. If serving with meat or smoked fish like oysters, oh, clams, fish, really good with clams and fish, dash or two of Worcester sauce mixed in, just really, that works. Anytime I cook with seafood, I always add a dash or two of Worcester sauce. Again, I guess that's sort of a cultural thing. That's sort of a Cajun thing. But well, it's also an English thing. It just works. I mean, really, what Worcester sauce is a fermented anchovy sauce. It's got everything from tamarind to who knows what else in it, but it works well with seafood. Just a dash, combined in a little cocktail sauce, combined in a little tartar sauce, really just brings those flavors out like crazy. So you can add a spoonful or two of it to an omelet on top of some steamed sauteed vegetables. Just let it melt on there. Do broccoli with a boursin cheese sauce. Oh, wow. You could do mix it into an Alfredo sauce. Put it on pizza. Yes, it is so good on pizza. Really good. And really good. Put it on a burger. I mean, I don't know any way that boursin is bad. Alternatively, if you didn't do the onions and the other herbs, you can just do cracked black pepper into chef and make a peppered. Usually it's pepper and garlic, so that's a nice combination. That's so good on a burger. Um, the wonderful, I mean, cheese and dates and figs work so well. You can absolutely, I mean, and that goes back a long way. Back Pliny the Elder, who wrote a lot about herbal medicine, called that a farmer's breakfast. So in ancient Greece, you would have a little bit of bread, some herbed cheese, and some dates or figs. And that's what a farmer ate. Maybe some honey. You can put all that on top of a pizza, and I'm telling you, it's so good. I'm not kidding you. Figs and blue cheese or chev or boursin, bacon, um, mortadella. I mean, that's really nice. But yeah, anything along those lines. Clams and bacon go remarkably well. You know, 2,000 years ago, that was considered a calorie-rich uh, breakfast for a farmer. And considering it's so much healthier than the ridiculous cereals we eat these days and Pop Tarts and such, might want to get back to that. And a little good hard farm work never did anybody harm. When growing up on the farm, when I was a kid, for breakfast we had huge breakfasts. I mean, it was bacon, sausage, eggs, grits. I mean, biscuits, preserves, and butter, and I mean, massive. Even when I was like 5 years old, my grandmother would give me half milk and half coffee and enough breakfast to feed probably three average people. And, that's a farm breakfast. So still, breakfast actually is the most important meal of the day. People make a big mistake when they skip breakfast because eating a little bit of natural fat in your breakfast causes your gallbladder to purge, to flush. And if you skip breakfast, you can get gallstones. That's one of the reasons women have more gallstones than men because they're more focused on, dieting and losing weight usually. And the easiest meal to skip is breakfast. But yeah, a little bit of natural fat and especially a little something sour. That combination will flush the gallbladder and is also very good for the liver and pancreas. So now let's get on to our medicinal. And as I said, this one is very interesting. Euonymus, that is spelled Euonymus, and there are 22 varieties of euonymus with documented use in herbal medicine. I'm not going to name them all. They have very interesting names. In Europe, they're generally called spindle tree. Um, in America, well, like I said, there are two main varieties. There are actually three shrub forms of euonymus in my region. And one, I don't see a lot, but I have seen it before. I'm picturing it in my mind right now. That's why I kind of wandered off for a second. It's called strawberry bush. It's Euonymus obovata. It doesn't grow on my property. I do know where there is some, but I have tons of burning bush or winged burning bush. There's also one called the Japanese spindle tree, which has been naturalized, and they're variant of another one called winter creeper. But yeah, one of the most interesting, and really I guess probably the signature member of the family is Euonymus americanus when we're talking about native to the Americas, and it's called Hartzebuston. Isn't that a nice name? But see, these are used a lot in landscaping because they're very pretty. Now, all of them are somewhat toxic, and we're going to get into that. Use goes back to ancient Rome. Galen wrote, "This shrub is hurtful to all things, as Theophrastus writeth, and especially for goats. He saith, the fruit thereof killeth, so does the leaves and fruit destroy goats especially, unless they scour as well upwards as downwards." That means unless the goats start vomiting and having diarrhea at the same time. "Three or four of these fruits being given to a man will purge both by the vomit and stool." So this is not one you want to play around with, but it does have long use. Actually very popular in several Native American tribes, specifically for that purgative action. But Miss Grieve, writing in the 1930s, writes of the spindle tree, which, like I said, we do have a spindle tree that's been naturalized in America. The reason it was called the spindle tree is because the wood was used to make spindles. That was a process of making thread and such. So the one that grows in Europe is actually very similar to our Wahoo, similar properties, but we will make some distinctions. But let's just focus right now on the European version. She says the fruit, well, she describes it quite a bit. I'll skip the description. Really unique plant. You're going to want to Google this one and see pictures of it. Once you see it, you'll probably recognize it. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful plants. She says that it's a very hard wood, and that's why it was used for spindles. It was also used in making certain spokes and small wheels, skewers. It was used for skewers and ox goads, actually. So, and actually, as she said on the continent, that means in Europe, it was used for making pipe stems. So yeah, it actually has many, many uses. There's also an oil I think we can get into that in a minute. But she says parts used. This one, well, she actually said she preferred the American Euonymus autopurpurens. That means on its own, it turns purple. We call it the burning bush because it's actually like a bright purpley red. It just really stands out. But she said in America it was known as Wahoo, burning bush, or Indian arrowwood. As I said, this is a hard wood, and if you can get a straight piece, I'm sure it would make a good arrow. She said shrub growing about 6 feet high with winged stems. Really unique looking. I can't emphasize that enough. But she said that the constituents, it had a colorless, bitter principle, a resin called euonymus. We don't need to get into all that, but medicinal action uses. Here's what I'm shooting for here. Actually, in the pharmacies at the time, there was a powdered extract of it sold. She mentions that. But tonic, alterative, cholagogue laxative, hepatic stimulant. Okay, tonic in this case is going to be more like a digestive tonic. Alterative means gradually brings you back to health. Now, how do I know this is digestive tonic as opposed to tonic as in gradually brings you back to health? Because she used both terms, tonic and alterative. So I like it when an author does that, and I can tell what they mean. Cholagogue, basically good for digestion. Laxative is obvious. And hepatic stimulant means it is good for the liver. So she says in small doses, euonymus, and that's the extract of euonymus, stimulates the appetite and the flow of gastric juice. In larger doses, it is an irritant to the intestines and is cathartic. Well, that means it's going to make you vomit and have diarrhea. Okay? Irritant to the intestines and cathartic, so have diarrhea and vomit. So in whichever order you prefer, I'm sure it's going to get the job done. It has slight diuretic and expectorant effects, so helps remove excess fluid and get the mucus out of the lungs, but is only used as a purgative in cases of constipation in which the liver is disordered. So if the constipation is caused by a liver disorder, that's when it's recommended. And she says in that case it's particularly efficacious. It is especially valuable in liver disorders which follow or accompany fever. It is mildly aperient and causes no nausea, at the same time stimulating the liver somewhat freely and promoting a free flow of bile. She recommends a decoction using an ounce of the bark to a pint of water. Now, I have to emphasize this can be a very, very toxic plant. You don't want to use a lot of it, okay? She mentioned that there's other varieties of euonymus, and one is actually edible and was being cultivated by the Arabs and was said to produce a state of watchfulness and protection from the plague. No idea. Is there euonymus that has a stimulating quality? It could. I mean, we have, plants that have caffeine or other amphetamine type substances. Um, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. This is a unique plant. Would have to look more into that. Interesting, very interesting. Anyway, Cherokee use of Wahoo, again, Euonymus americanus. She says, no, he being the author, I cannot remember his name. That's going to bug me. It's Plants of the Cherokee. It's a classic work. It was written in the 1920s. The author spent time among various regions of the Cherokee tribes, talking with their, medicine men or whatever you want to call them. Basically shamans that also use herbal medicine. And it's a very difficult book to understand if you haven't spent a lot of time around Native American herbal medicine. And this one, okay, I'm going to give you this one for historic sake. This is not, like I said, this plant has some toxicity. You're not going to use it a whole lot. Cherokee used euonymus as an ingredient in the medicine for irregular urination. Now that's, it was said to have some diuretic properties. But if you're going to have diarrhea and vomiting at the same time, maybe not the best time to stimulate the bladder. I don't know. It says boil for a short time the barks of cat's paw, and that's another variety of euonymus. A liquid amber, which is gumball, and gum tree, and vitis. Vitis is it's a bush. It's like what, arborvitae. It's a landscaping plant mostly these days. Plantanus oxytalis and Fagus grandifolia. Oh, what is Fagus? Is that? No, it's not. Oh, golly. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Beech tree. There we go, beech tree. Smilax glauca. That's basically greenbrier. Nyssa. What is Nyssa? Is that New Jersey tea? I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, very complex formula as a tea. Now, why am I going into more detail on this? Because it was just indicated for bad disease. So, you're going to take all these plants, many of which are rather strong, and boil them up and make a tea for bad disease. But they don't tell you what that bad disease is. Later on, another medicine man indicated it for gonorrhea. Would that be the bad disease? Probably not. But said it would cure it in 3 to 4 days. That's pretty impressive. A warm tea used for a stomach ache, and scrape the bark in the springtime and make a tea and rub it in for cramps in the veins. Root tea drunk for falling of the womb. That's basically vaginal prolapse. Again, drinking this root tea could make you throw up and have diarrhea. So you're going to want to be really careful. There's probably a lot of better things. But use topically. That is really important because Wahoo does have a lot of use for cramps and for constricted veins, varicose veins, sore joints. And so, that is still a very good way to use it because we're not taking it internally. Resources of Southern Fields and Forests, written in the 1860s, says that, well, first of all, he's a botanist. He identifies several of them, some that grow in the mountains and some that grow in the swamps. And he said it is, according to medical botany, Griffith's Medical Botany, I think of, I can't see what year that is. It was emetic, discutient, and antisyphilitic. Now, is syphilis the bad disease the Cherokees were talking about? I don't know. But it is also thought to be narcotic. The seeds are said to be nauseous, purgative, and emetic. In other words, they make you nauseous, make you have diarrhea, and throw up. So no matter how narcotic it is, you're not going to enjoy that. Um, and dried could be used to destroy vermin in the hair. It could actually be used to get rid of lice. It's another very traditional use. But the leaves are poisonous to cattle. Of Wahoo specifically, and that's Euonymus autopurpureus. He mentions a Dr. Wood in the 12th edition of the U.S. Medical Dispensatory stating that he and Mr. Carpenter had introduced the bark some 20 years since as a remedy for dropsy, that's, bad water retention, swelling in the limbs, under the name of Wahoo, and having obtained a knowledge of its virtues in the western states, Dr. Wood again ascertained that it was derived from this plant, which must be distinguished from the elm of the southern United States. Yes, elm and euonymus are two very different plants. Elm is ulmus, and I think in this case you're actually talking prickly elm, because sometimes that was also called Wahoo. The bark imparts its virtues to water and alcohol, so you can do a decoction or a tincture, and is found to contain a bitter principle. Interestingly, it also contains asparagine, which is one of the components of asparagus. It gives it its unique flavor. Asparagus also being diuretic, that's probably what gives it the diuretic property and made it so useful in dropsy, in edema. So very interesting there. It was in official medicine in 1898. King's Medical Dispensatory says 2 species of euonymus are used in medicine, the spindle tree and the burning bush. So Autopurpureus and Euonymus americanus, both of which are called Wahoo. And I think they're pretty much interchangeable, but this is not a plant I use more than just for ornamental properties. It's absolutely beautiful. It's not one, I mean, I'm just not into having vomiting and diarrhea. I mean, literally, a lot of my herbal medicine is designed to prevent vomiting and diarrhea. I mean, I suppose if I really needed to flush out my system, this would be a good alternative. After all, the first thing that comes to mind that grows in my yard is mayapple, called American mandrake. The root is also quite purgative, but it's called an irritant and purgative. In other words, it'll give you the most painful stomach cramping and diarrhea experience and vomiting you've ever had. It was used for that purpose when someone needed to flush out their system. I think Wahoo, even with its potential toxicity, would be a much better alternative. But I think I can even go a little better than that if I just need to throw up. And it's mustard powder, powdered ground mustard seed taken in water, will make you throw up. Pretty effective. So anyway, we don't need to get into chemical compositions. This is a scientific journal. You know how that can be. But let's see, under actions, medicinal uses, and dosage. Euonymus has been in use among physicians for a long time. The bark is tonic, laxative, alterative, diuretic, and expectorant. The seeds are cathartic and emetic. An infusion, syrup, or extract has been successfully used in intermittents, and intermittents being malarial fever usually. Dyspepsia, that's basically upset stomach, a lot of gas, burping, indigestion, that kind of thing. Torpid liver, constipation, dropsy, and pulmonary affections. Professor Locke states that there are but few good stomach tonics, and this agent is one of them. It stimulates the biliary flow and has considerable anti-malarial influence, and may be used in intermittents after the chill has been broken with quinine. Well, see, that's good to know. COVID was very much like malaria in many ways, especially in the efficacy of quinine, hydroxychloroquine and such. So, this would be a good one to have on hand. You could, we don't grow cinchona in North America, but you got tulip poplar and dogwood, which are very good substitutes. So, yeah, that's good to know. It says it stimulates the nutritive process and improves the appetite. It may be used with advantage in atonic dyspepsia and indigestion due to hepatic torpor following the malarial fever. It is a remedy for chronic ague, that's fever, and consequent obstinate constipation and gastric debility following it. They recommended tincturing the root in gin. Yeah, seriously, and just taking it as a sip before a meal. So that's very much like quinine in that use, isn't it? So specific indications of uses: prostration with irritation of the nervous centers, periodical diseases to supplement the action of quinine in anorexia, indigestion, and constipation due to hepatic torpor. So very interesting indeed. Let's see if I have anything more modern. Oh, well, a little more modern. How about 1920s? Jethro Kloss said Wahoo, also called Indian root or Indian arrowwood or spindle tree or bitter ash or a burning bush. We won't get into all the names he listed. Medicinal properties: tonic, laxative, expectorant, diuretic, and alterative. He wrote, it is a splendid laxative, excellent in chest and lung infections, useful in fevers, malaria, dyspepsia, liver disorders, pancreas and spleen troubles. Good remedy for dropsy. Steep a small teaspoonful in a cup of boiling water for 30 minutes. Take 2 or 3 cups a day, an hour before meals. Better than quinine. Now, well, Jethro Kloss was not a doctor. He was quite the herbalist, though. A little wacky in some of his personal and religious beliefs, but that was that era around 1890s into the early 1900s where you had like Kellogg and different ones that were doing these health resorts and putting people on these very strict diets, strict vegan diets, and a lot of odd stuff like multiple enemas a day and all kinds of odd stuff. And Kloss was very much a product of that generation, but he did know his herbs. Modern use now. Plants for Future says medicinal use of winged spindle tree. That's the Euonymus alatus. The stem and branches are alternative analgesic, anodyne, anthelmintic, anticoagulant, antiphlogistic, antipyretic, astringent, blood tonic, carminative, emmenagogue, hypoglycemic, and purgative. That's a lot of big words. We covered a lot of these. I mean, analgesic means helps with pain. Anticoagulant means it can help with bruising. Gosh, what else do we have here? Carminative sells the stomach. Emmenagogue means it can bring on menses. Hypoglycemic means it can lower blood sugar. Anyway, it's used in Korea for intestinal worms. That was another word he used. What was that one? Anthelmintic. Anthelmintic means it can help with intestinal parasites. Intestinal worms suppress menstruation and cancer. A decoction used in China in the treatment of cold, headache, and general body aches. Pruritus, irregular menstruation, other gynecological diseases. Plants contain the anti-cancer compound dulcitol. Japanese spindle tree, anti-rheumatic, diuretic tonic. Leaves used in case of difficult delivery. I don't know anything about that. Strawberry bush, which is one we have here in America. The seed is strongly laxative, a tea made from the roots used in cases of uterine prolapse, vomiting of blood, painful urination, stomach aches. The bark is diuretic, expectorant, laxative, and tonic. It was used as a tea in the treatment of malaria, liver congestion, constipation, etc. The powdered bark applied to the scalp was believed to eliminate dandruff. An infusion of the plant has been used to stimulate menstruation and so should not be used by pregnant women. I think that goes with all the euonymus. Anything that's going to be that violent on the system could be very dangerous. And one more they call winter creeper. It says it's very high in that anti-cancer compound dulcitol. So that would be interesting to see if any research has gone into that. Peterson Field Guide for Central and Eastern Medicinal Plants says of strawberry bush, American Indians use root tea for uterine prolapse, vomiting of blood, stomach aches, painful urination, and as a wash for swellings. Bark was formerly used by physicians as a tonic, laxative, diuretic, and expectorant. Tea used for malaria, indigestion, liver congestion, constipation, lung affections. Powdered bark applied to scalp was thought to eliminate dandruff. Seed strongly laxative. Warning, fruit and seeds and bark may be poisonous. Do not ingest. Fruits may cause vomiting, diarrhea, and unconsciousness. So you definitely don't want to throw up and have diarrhea until you pass out. Yeah. Wahoo, which is one growing in my yard, uses are essentially the same as for E. americanus or strawberry bush. Historically, the bark was used as a tonic, laxative, diuretic, and expectorant. Extracts, syrup, and tea were used for fevers, upset stomach, constipation, dropsy, lung ailment, liver congestion, and in heart medicines. The seeds were considered emetic and strongly laxative. Root and bark contain digitalis-like compounds. Interesting. Fruit and seed and bark are considered poisonous. Yes, so that would explain why one of them listed as narcotic. That just means slows the heart rate. So, yeah. Finally, the physician's desk reference for herbal medicine says the drug is reported to be a laxative and choleritic, I should say. Large doses have an effect on the heart. So physicians are aware of its digitalis-like properties and its laxative properties. You know, I don't foresee myself experimenting with Wahoo, with burning bush. Like I said, I just really don't like to throw up or have diarrhea. I can see, though, why it would be very beneficial. It may be interesting to add to a bitters formula. I received some really wonderful bitters in the mail from a listener who has started a bitters company. It's called Unicorn Bitters. Phenomenal orange vanilla bitters. A medicinal cocktail bitters. You can have it either medicinal or cocktail. Also, they have a lavender one. I really like the orange one. I'm allergic to lavender, but it is tasty. I tried it. Stopped up my nose, but I have an allergy to lavender, but I'm going to share it with a friend that doesn't. She'll love them. Absolutely, she loves lavender. So I'm hoping to have the owner of the company on the podcast in the next week or two. We'll do an interview. The formula is brilliant, and I wanted to tell you about how he put the company together and all about what goes into it. I was really impressed. This is that formula is a knockout. I mean, it really is. I'm not even going to try to list everything that's in it right now. I'll let him do that. You can look into it. But these are some very high quality craft bitters. And I'm just really, again, honored that they would share them with me. It's really nice. One of the perks of doing the podcast. Anyway, y'all have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.
The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, for your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.